Welcome. So this is an overview of restorative practices. So to begin, we need to discuss what are restorative practices, and these are different from traditional school discipline, which we'll discuss. These did arise from restorative justice movement. This is where the victims and the offenders and others involved meet to resolve conflict and repair relationships. So it does focus on strengthening relationships, a collaborative problem-solving process, and giving a voice to all involved. It does aim to prevent conflicts from happening by fostering trust and a sense of community between students, adults. It does address developmental needs, especially among adolescents, by offering opportunities for cultivating sense of belonging and self-expression. And it is inquiry-based, addressing the 5 E's of engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. So how are restorative practices implemented? There are 4 general steps. And the first is to delve into the behavior itself, and the goal is to seek understanding. Step 2 is to identify the stakeholders involved. So how was each person affected? This is the cognitive process of empathy development, again, very important for students and to teach students in school. Then we need to repair the harm and guide towards solutions with open-ended questions. That's important, and we'll discuss that in a moment. Finally, we need to reintegrate and resettle the classroom. We need to appreciate and encourage everyone involved and build relationships. So there are 5 forms of restorative practices in schools, and these range from informal to formal, and effective statements are part of this. So here are some ways we can take typical responses and convert them to effective statements. So instead of saying, you shouldn't do that, saying, I feel sad when you say something like that. And then there's also effective questions or restorative questions. So if you're addressing the behavior, instead of saying you shouldn't have done that or why did you do that, asking them about their thought process, what happened, what were you thinking. For those affected, saying what has been the hardest thing for you, how did this impact you, things like that. So restorative circles are very central to restorative practices, and these are used for building classroom communities, teaching social skills, problem solving. And here are some examples. There's many of them. They can be used to address a behavioral issue, but that's not the only time they should be used if it's going to be effective. They could be used to discuss expression of emotions or maybe some calming strategies. You could talk about kindness. How can we show kindness to others and make a discussion about that? Talking about problem solving conflicts. And oftentimes in a circle, you'll see teachers using an object like this, maybe a stuffed animal. For younger students, they can only talk when they're holding the object, maybe a ball that they can pass around, or I've seen a talking wand or a stick. Tips for this, though, are that we need to have a clear goal or outcome. There needs to be a positive tone in the circle. Focus needs to be maintained throughout the discussion. Students are the teacher's allies and the allies of the classroom. So part of this is that everyone has an equal status and everyone needs to sit in the circle. You can see this in this picture. The teacher is sitting in the circle with the students as an equal member. They're not outside of the circle. That kind of provides a judging tone, whether the teacher means to or not. And then down here at the bottom, we can see that there's kind of a lesson format. There's a greeting, a feelings check-in, an activity, and a closing to these circles, which is very helpful. There is praise and pushback, as with many things. So here's some examples of praise from one school. You can see there's a decrease of negative behaviors and then an increase in students feeling safe, and also time in the classroom, which is very important, obviously, for teachers. Some pushback is some teachers say, oh, this won't work for all students. Yes, it won't work for all students all the time, but the benefits far outweigh the negatives, and providing choice, like a discussion box in the classroom, is helpful, allowing students to opt out if they don't feel comfortable or they don't want to participate, with the hope that they'll participate in the future. It takes too much time. It's too complicated. Well, yes, it does take time at first, as many things do, but it does lessen over time. It does get easier. You will see a decrease in negative behaviors over time. So really, it's an investment for the teacher in the beginning of the school year, and then you'll see it help you throughout the year. Teachers saying, I'm a teacher, I'm not a counselor or a social worker. Well, yes, but we're teaching the whole child. So that does involve some counseling, and there's a lot of crossover there. I have too much to do already. What does this have to do with my subject area? Again, we're teaching the whole child. we can't teach our content if there's distractions or issues in the classroom. And does this mean kids just apologize and nothing happens? Good point, but no, consequences should still be assigned, but they should relate to the actions. And the hope, again, is that this helps prevent future instances. So there are many benefits we can see on this wheel, that it promotes belonging, healthy relationships, voice, fair process, ownership, empathy, creates an authentic, meaningful learning environment for students, which is our goal, provides a platform for students and adults to express their ideas. There's feedback constantly, promotes teacher learning as well. Again, the teacher's an equal member, and encourages collaboration and a sense of community. So this is very beneficial. Again, there is some pushback in some areas, but there's a lot of research, especially recently, into the benefits of this strategy. So here are my references. There are 2 books here that I use a lot, very helpful if you would like to read more on this subject. So thank you.